How do you push for systematic change around ideas that are new or not that popular? Well, that's been my life for most of my HR career, and definitely over the last few years. There isn't going to be a one size fits all. But what are some tips or tricks that you can follow to help ease it a little bit? Number one, you have to understand your audience. So whenever we wanted to launch a new talent program that we knew it was going to require work on behalf of the business, so the managers and the employees, the first step that we took was to make sure that whatever program we were going to put in place actually met a need. So was there a reason that we were going to launch this program or change things on our employee population, or were we just changing for the sake of changing? So number one, why are we doing it? And are we sure we're doing it for the right reasons? Once we had clarity that we were doing it for the right reasons and that really was a need that this was going to address, and how did we do that? We talked to the leaders in the organization. We talked to the employees that would impact in the organization. Next is that we would want to figure out how much of a pushback were we going to get. So who was going to push back on it? Who was not? Who were going to be our biggest advocates for it, for whatever we were going to launch? And so the individuals that we knew were going to be our biggest advocates for it, we would leverage those people as champions. So we would have them actually be at meetings with us, help us launch the initiative and whatnot, and talk to our employees and other managers about the initiative. When we looked at individuals who we knew were going to be against it, we had conversations with them to kind of seek to understand what could it be that is keeping them from wanting to adopt the change. Was it a will thing? So that they didn't want to do it? Or is it that change would make them have to do something differently and they just didn't know how to do it differently? Was it that the program was going to expose them and they felt, well, maybe I'm not the greatest leader, and now that we're looking at talent across the organization, people may realize I'm not the best leader? Like, what was at the core or at the root of why they would potentially oppose this change? And then we would check in. Actually, throughout the design, we would run it through them and ask them for any feedback. And then right before we launched, we ran them through the full program from beginning to end to make any tweaks, get their reaction. If it was a new system, we would make sure that it was easier for them to navigate through it. If it was a new process, make sure that they understood that we had all the guides that they needed on how to do it, that they understood the why we were doing it and how it was going to make their life either easier or better, help them propel their career, help them get noticed when they normally wouldn't get noticed. We would pretty much try to engage them. And then after whatever product was launched or program was launched, we would have check-ins. Sometimes those were in focus groups. Sometimes it was one-on-one, or sometimes it was informal, just feedback that we would get along the way. And we would incorporate any relevant changes into any new evolutions of the program or initiative. So at the end of the day, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. Make sure whoever it's going to impact share a voice as to what it is that they need, what they like about what you're proposing, what they don't like about what you're proposing. Make sure that they can pressure test it before you launch whatever it is that you're going to launch. And then check in frequently afterwards to make sure that what you intended it to do is really what's happening.